Hello students, in today's lecture we are going to discuss about static data members. Static data members are different from regular data members. Actually, static data members contains zero value by default when we don't initialize it, and however, other data members like we have declared over here in this section are automatic data members, or they come under the category of auto data members. Actually, there are four kinds of variables with type or category auto, static, register, and global. So by default, the variables we create come under the category of auto. Second category is static, third is register, and fourth one is global. And here in this lecture, we are going to discuss about static variables or static data members. These variables we have already studied in C in another tutorial, but here in C++, we'll study static data members. That means these are used inside the class. And we learn what are their uses and why we use them. We learn in this lecture. Now let's see through an example. We have created a class employee with three data members: employee ID, which is integer, employee name, which is character string, and salary. We are having three attributes of employee: employee ID, name, and salary. And in the public section, we have declared static variable. See, here we have used the keyword static, then its data type, which is integer, and then static variable name. And we have kept its name as static variable. Declare a static data member. Here we have declared static variable inside the class employee. And now we are going to create constructor of this class employee. As you can see that the constructor name is employee, it is default constructor, and here we are incrementing the value of static variable by 1. Static variable plus plus. We are just incrementing the value by 1. This is basically used to keep track of how many objects are created within a class or of a particular class. Actually, the value of static variable remains the same, or it persists between different function calls. However, in case of auto, the value changes after every call or after every execution. But in case of static data member or static variable, it retains its previous value and modifications are made on the previous value and it updates the previous value. However, in case of auto variable, which are by default, the value just overrides. Now, we'll create two functions: input, which will take input of these three members, enter the ID of employee, C in imp ID, enter the name of employee, C in imp name, and enter salary of employee, C in salary. Thereafter, we have closed this input function. And now in the output function, we'll just display their values, what we have entered so far. In the output function, we'll just display their values over here in this function. You can see that. And now over here, we have set static variable initial value as 0. Int employee static variable is equal to 0. Since we have set its value 0 outside the class, that's why we have used this scope resolution operator. And now in the main function, we'll create first object of employee class, E1. Now, when this object will be created, then default constructor will be called automatically and control will go to the default constructor over here. When first object of the class is created, while execution of this statement, employee E1, that means first object is created, then control will go to this default constructor and static variable will be incremented by 1. Initially, it was set to 0, but now it has been set to 1. That means first object of the class has been created. And now we'll call input function and output function by using this object. These concepts we have already studied in detail. E1.input will call the input function and all the input will be done, and E1.output will display their respective results. Now, employee E2. Now, second object is created and E2.input. When second object will be created, then again that default constructor will be called, and now its value will be 2 now. You can see that while calling the second object E2, here the control will go and it will set the value of static variable as 2, which was initially 1, because the value is incremented. Now, by using the output function, we'll display the values of E2 object by using E2.output. And now, by using this last statement, number of objects created in the class, we'll just print the value of static variable. Employee, scope resolution, static variable. See, static variable can be accessed outside the class in the main function by using the scope resolution operator with the class name. So static variable is not in the scope of the class, not in the private or public, but it is just a member of the class. So you can declare it either in private or public section, and we can access it by using employee, scope resolution operator, and static variable. We don't need to write E1.static variable or E2.static variable. It is directly under the scope of the class and not under the scope of certain object like E1 or E2. So we are just accessing it directly, employee, scope resolution operator, and then static variable. And now its value is 2. So it will display number of objects created in the class 2, because 2 objects are created in this class. Let's suppose if we create third object, employee E3, then value of static variable will be incremented by 1 again. And while printing this statement, the number of objects created in the class will be 3 displayed. Now let's see the output of this program. We'll compile and run it. Let me show you the output window. Over here, it is asking enter the ID of the employee. So let's suppose I have entered 101. Now enter the name of the employee. Let's suppose I have entered Robin and salary of the employee. Let's suppose I have entered 1 lakh. So their respective output is displayed over here, because we have called output function just after the input function. So this is the output of E1 object. Now it is asking for the input of second object, that is E2. Enter the ID of the employee. Let's suppose it is 102. Name is, let's suppose, Smith, and salary is, let's suppose, 2 lakhs. And this is the result of second object, E2. This is the output of second object, E2. And now, number of objects created in the class, 2, because we have created 2 objects, E1 and E2. So static variable is basically used to count how many objects are created in a class. And it is not come under the scope or province of object directly, but it is under the scope of class. That's why it is accessed by using scope resolution operator, as you can see over here in this statement over here. I hope you understood completely what is static data member. If you have any doubt, you can leave the comment. Thank you.